somebody on our show that I want you to listen to. She has such good information, but not only that, she has a story to tell, and we're so happy that she's here to share that story with us. And we're looking forward to it. But again, I want to thank all of you out there for coming to the podcast and subscribing and sharing and telling your family about the podcast and it's just so important to us. And also thanking you for going to the joybeloved.com and making those purchases, whether you're purchasing the Joy Be Loved product or the podcast product. We really, really appreciate it and can't thank you enough for that. And so without further ado, we're going to get this show started right away. And here is our co-host. You know him.
Greetings. My name is Razak. I'm the CEO and founder of United Minority Business Ventures. My purpose is to help small businesses grow. This means I will assist with the creative process and maintenance of your business. The method to achieve results is simply building a deeper relationship with your customers. And I do this by forming opportunities to communicate and collaborate with your followers, subscribers, and other business owners. By using a wide range of networking tools, we will have an understanding for building your business profile, what type of social media marketing fits your productivity and your availability, and then what's going to be your marketing strategy, building your financial profile, branding your service, product, or merchandise. Together, we may also determine what type of licenses is needed to operate your business. And does your budget permit owning the ownership of your own domain or buying into pre-existing sites that host your page? And how elaborate does your business site need to be to effectively generate interest in your service, products, or apparel? And I like to drive traffic, and this means managing your website. This allows me to work with you to select posts that create subscriptions, comments, and likes. I also assist by generating comments on other individual business sites or pages that create a dialogue of conversation directed towards your page. I also like to assist with the creation of the content on your media site. And this will be a collaboration of ideas which will reflect on your brand, your work ethics, and the community's need to know what you have to offer them to bring a better quality of comfort to their lives and lifestyle. I'd just like to say it's going to be a pleasure to have this discussion. I'm glad to be able to meet you today.
Yes, sir. We want to thank Razak again. All of you guys know that he does a lot of work out there, trying to bring businesses together, trying to put them in a place to succeed. And we really do appreciate that. And one other thing I want to say about Razak and all the work that he's doing for not only the podcast and here as a co-host, he's committed to doing and making your business successful. But besides that, we want to this lady right here. Introduce yourself, Miss.
I'm Miss Marsha Bullock. I am an author. I'm a local author. I grew up in Long Beach, California. Paris now. I write children's books, urban fiction, fantasy fiction, adult books, historical fiction. I also have a line of merchandise that I have a doll in Walmart. I have a characters. So I have like a collection of work that I do, but mostly I write books.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if that sounded like you just write books and got something in the Walmart. You better liven that picture up a little bit.
Well, okay, so I write books and I write children's books. So I wrote a children's book and I have a little character named Pinky. And Pinky, I don't know if you ever heard about this old wise tale that if your legs hurt, the weather's going to change. So Pinky's kind of like, I don't want to say she has a disability, but she has a knee brace on. And so I made, when I made the book, I did the research and I wanted a doll and I did research and I found this place to make me a doll. And so I made a doll and I started the book. My mother may have made me a raggedy type of doll, but I was like, I know I want a more professional type of doll. So I got that. So what I did was I just started selling books and selling this doll with the books. And I did a lot of research on how to get my doll into different stores, different places. And I got to Walmart and they accepted her. Now she's on their website. So you have to you put the product on their website first. And depending on how she scales, then she'll go into the store, and they gave me a list of products that I could put on the Walmart website. and I chose to put my doll because I have rain boots and umbrellas and packs and things like that. But I wanted to see how the doll worked out. The doll was going pretty good, but it's a partnership between me and Walmart that we have. So Pinky is inside the store, and Pinky is like my children's book character. So Pinky, and she has a bunch of friends, a bunch of books that go along with Turquoise the Terrible. She has a book, a friend, a pumpkin. So if you ever read one of my books, then you would see like these are Pinky and her friends. So yeah, I'm proud of Pinky being in Walmart. I mean, it's just something that it blows my mind every time I get an order, every time they send one out because they notify me. It's like amazing. Like you made that in that store, and when I walk through Walmart, I want to see her there one day on the shelf. But you have to, they start you off and on their website. But that right there was, for me was amazing.
Mm-hmm. Imagine so. Imagine so.
I had some books. I have a partnership with Amazon. So Amazon partners out, and so you can have books. I can also put my books in Walmart, but there's different levels that when you go on Walmart, that it's easier for me to sell them on Amazon, because when you're selling things at Walmart, different rules apply, different things apply, different, you have to have money to make money. So Walmart requires a lot of other things than Amazon does. So sometimes it's more convenient for me to sell there until I build up to this and get to that level. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but Walmart
Yes.
is different contracts with Walmart.
Right. Yeah. We'll dig into that. We'll dig into that. Get a little more detail about how you go about doing that. Let me ask you, when did you first realize you wanted to be a writer?
When I was a kid, when I was a little kid, I always wanted to be a writer. I made it realize that maybe when I was maybe the 3rd or 4th grade. It was my first year of public school. I went to Catholic school my whole life. My first year of public school, a teacher there let me write a play. I'm never going to forget this. I wrote a play. We had a little play in the classroom, and she let us. I wrote the play, then I gave everybody a part, like this is your part, and I gave them their roles, and she let us enact this play in the classroom. So I always knew that that's what I wanted to do. But life happens. I graduated. I went to college. Ended up going to Compton College. I had a baby. Life happens. I got a AA degree. Then I went back to college. Got a bachelor's degree in early childhood education. Ended up becoming a teacher. My mother was a teacher, followed in her footsteps. Ended up becoming a teacher, but I always knew that I was going to write books somewhere down the line. It was just something that was in me. I just didn't know. I didn't know how to do it. Like, I didn't know where to start. Like, where do you start writing a book? Like, how do you write a book? So, a girlfriend of mine was at the school. She's a family. We call them family service workers, like social workers. And she was writing autographs. She's writing articles for this online magazine, and they were paying like I don't know what it was, $100 a pop. You write a couple 5,000 words. If they like it, they'll get it. You can write it. And so I was like, I'm gonna write me one. And I don't know what happened. I just sat down and I just started writing a story. And from that, I never sold it to them. I turned that into my first book because it was so good that my friend was like, once you sell it to them, you can't have it back. And so he was like, we should keep this. And I was like, okay, so that, and I don't know, it was God. I sat down and I just started writing. And from there, I haven't stopped. It's just like second nature.
Okay. And in your opinion, what is your favorite? What is the favorite part about being a writer?
My favorite part about being a writer is listening to the people tell my stories when I'm done. Getting their perspective on the characters, listening to them tell me what, analyzing these characters that I wrote that popped up in my mind, but they take on a life of their own and they have a different meaning to the people that they read. So my favorite part of is like seeing the joy, the happiness on their face when they read my books. It's amazing. It's like the books kind of sort of taking on their own life, their own world. That is my joy when they love it and they're like, where's the next book at, and why did so and so do this? Like these people that are in my book, they become like real life people to my readers, and that is my joy. That's where I get the joy from. Like when people love it, and they they come to me and they tell me stuff. Even when I'm writing my children's books, and my children's books really, I know it's my strong suit, but it's really not my joy. I don't know if that makes sense. It's not. It's to me when I'm writing the children's books, that's more like work. Like to me, I'm educating these kids. Like I need to find something that I need them to have a lesson out of it. So for me, it's I'm working when I'm doing this. I'm writing this children's book. I'm teaching you a lesson. It's the teacher in me. I need to know what you got from it. It doesn't come from a joyous place where I'm writing like fantasy fiction. It comes from that's my mind just all over the place, and I'm putting it on paper. So for the kids,
is that because there's more restrictions?
I don't know if it's because it's more restriction with kids books. With the kids books, I always think as in a teacher sort of perspective. Like, this is my classroom. What do I want them to learn? What did they get out of the book? So it always becomes a lesson. Like I have a book about a little girl whose mother suffers from depression, and so, but the little girl says that her mother is sick because she doesn't look sick. So I'm giving them all. The girl is telling me she doesn't look sick because she didn't go to the hospital. She didn't take any medicine. She didn't eat chicken noodle soup. She didn't drink Canada Dry. Like nothing's wrong with her. But then the little girl, the grandmother, trying to explain to her that her mind is sick, and so something happens to her in the book. She empathizes with her mother. So all the children's books, they don't really have restrictions on them. I can, pretty much whatever I want to say. But in my mind, me being a teacher, it has to have a lesson. It just can't be fun. I want you to get a lesson from this book. I want you to increase your vocabulary, so it has vocabulary words in it. I want you to be able to read it, so it's an easy read. So coming from that perspective of being a teacher, everything has to have a lesson in it. So maybe I put the restriction on myself.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense too.
Versus me writing a romance novel, like I can say whatever I want to say in this book, and I could do whatever I want to in this book because these are adults. With the children, it's like I don't want to put anything in the book that's offensive or may lead them in the wrong way that their parents wouldn't steer them, or that I wouldn't tell my grandkids or my kids. So for me, that when I'm writing a children's book, it's fun, but this is my job to educate you guys and to have you learn something. So I put the restriction. Even I don't know if you guys, he saw me when I was offended. I don't like to put the children's books and the adult books together because the children's books are children's books, and these are for kids, and these are an adult book. So it's probably just me.
No, that makes perfect sense. I believe you're going about that the right way. And so you mentioned so are the characters in your book based on actual people you know, or
I plead the fifth. I plead the fifth. I will not be answering that question. No, sir. Sometimes, we could be sitting here and I might like something about that person. Some are actually based on people I know, some people, or I might take different parts of people that I know and then I'll make a character from that person. Or I might like something about you and I'll be like, but I wish she had this, so I'm gonna add that to it. But I'm still gonna plead the fifth, like nope. Okay,
no, because sometimes you can be reading the book and you be like, hey, like they're, this is me or something. Like you're wondering, like, are you talking about me?
Well, I tell you, I big enough family where it's possible. It's possible.
Great.
Well, I know you. I wrote the book when I wrote my children's book, Pinky's Weather Legs, about the little girl who suffered from pain. That actually came from a story that my mother told me when she was little. So that I actually wrote that for my mother. So that actually came from her experience she had as a little girl.
Okay. Now, previously, before we knew you had the interview, I didn't read any of your books, so a lot of these questions are just, I don't know anything about the book. I haven't, took it up to read it. But what was the most challenging part? Okay, so you have a couple of books. You got adult books and you got children's books. So what would be the most challenging part about writing these books?
Okay, so writing the book is fairly simple, fairly easy. It just the words come through the paper. I write them down. I do the story in my mind, whatever my process. It's really the story is in, and then I get it on the paper. So the challenging part is it comes after I've written the story, after it's all done. It's like getting it edited, um, having the editor send it back to you, tell you fix this, fix that, getting it format. It's actually getting the book together. Writing the book is fairly simple. I could, if I didn't have to work and do other things in life, I probably could sit down and write books all day long because that's just how my imagination works. Now the challenging part is um, selling the book. Selling the book. People know you have a book, and advertising and marketing and places to go have book signings and where do people read at, and letting somebody know, oh, I have this fabulous book that I want you to read. And that's where the challenge comes in for me. Writing the book is once I've committed to writing the book, that's it. I'm gonna write it. I'm not gonna stop. And I have to stop myself. Like, that's enough. Like, don't add anything to that book. Don't take anything away. Now, normally when I write a book, I've read it so many times. When it goes to print, I never pick it up, touch it again. Because if I do, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to be like, oh, I should have said this. Or, oh, I should have put that in there. Oh, this is, So the challenge for me is after I've written. Like, when I'm writing it, I'm good. After, when I'm done and I'm ready to have it edited and I'm ready to have it formatted and all the stuff that comes with getting the book complete, that's where the challenge comes in.
Right.
Because writing a book is just like reading all day long. So all day long, I'm going through a chapter. Like, you could read a chapter today, and then tomorrow to go and find something like, oh, that shouldn't be like that. I shouldn't have said that, or this is wrong. The grammar is wrong. The periods are, all that stuff. That's where the challenge comes in because the editor can edit it, but you have to go back and do work and fix it. So that's my challenge.
Now, I took it. Now, one of the things that kind of excited me about, having this interview with you is, I wrote some books myself too. And they're not edited or anything like that. They're not any of these steps. They're still in the raw form and in like a little notebook.
Okay.
And so can you describe? So I'm kind of generalizing these questions, like coming from me, like asking you what's going on too.
Okay.
Can you describe the inspiration? Okay, well, first let me say I know you got a couple of books, so maybe if you can pick, if you have a favorite one, your favorite kids book or a favorite adult book that you have written, and can you describe the inspiration behind your book?
Okay, we'll go. I have and I'm excited about this. I have a series of books, and it's my first series, and I've never. All my books kind of go together, but you don't have to read one book to read the other book. But these particular books, you have to read one book to read the other book. Make sense? They're series books, right? So the inspiration comes from me loving history, uh, loving everything, past tense stuff, loving that, um, obsessed with vampires and werewolves and voodoo and New Orleans and stuff like that. I'm a big Twilight fan, a big Game of Thrones fan, I'm a big all this Lord of the Rings, and so I wrote a book about a lady got kidnapped from New Orleans. She was a slave, made her a slave. She came here. They didn't understand that when they took her. She came from a long line of voodoo queens, and she ended up killing the master and chopping them up, and just all this good stuff, right? Right? She ended up killing them and chopping them up, but she made friends with the mistress of the house, Mistress Maddie, and she helped her escape. And they went to St. Lucia. So they start off in New Orleans. They really start off Sierra Leone. They went to New Orleans. So these people are going like all around the world, and here is this Black African slave lady. She wasn't a slave, they made her a slave, but you know, that book and the inspiration comes from that. It's just me being a big fan of like Anne Rice, me being a big fan of Interview with a Vampire, and I'm mixing what I like in with it. Like I love New Orleans. I love, you know, the fact that she's friends with this mistress of the house, and she's, you know, she's they made her not gonna stay a slave. They enslaved her, but she's not gonna stay a slave because they didn't understand that she was a voodoo queen. So she started using her magic, and then kids have this power, and you know, and so the story just continues and goes on. And she goes to London, France, and she ends up runs into a vampire. And that's just how my imagination works. So that book was really fun to write, and it's really fun to get into because it's historical fiction. Because they start off in like 1825, and then they end up in 2024, right?
Right.
And so I just carrying it on like I this book, right? Take it on a life of its own. So I'm going back, I'm writing a book. It's called King Palafadro, and it's like a prequel to this story that I wrote. So I'm going even further back, and that just comes from me being like a real big history buff. Like this happened, and I'm going to put this in my book. So when you're reading my books, it's based around historical things that may have happened. You'll see them in my book. So that makes me do more research on the history that I enjoy researching anyway. So, but then I have urban fiction books, you know, and I do write urban fiction. You know, I grew up in Long Beach, grew up in the hood, so you know, I'm familiar with this. I'm familiar with this stuff. So, I do write books about drug dealers and kingpins and whatnot, and I love it. You know, those are the kind of books I like to read about. You know, and I like to write. So, you know, I write in all these different genres, and I'm in my romance era now. I'm a big Alexandra House fan, and I'm like, I'm making me some romance books. So I'm a big romance. I'm into this romance era, romantic. So the book, my latest book, I love them all, which I guess that's my favorite now, right?
Right.
It's about a girl who is very promiscuous in her life, and she makes a list of all her lovers that she's been with, and she's gonna go back and confront these men because she felt like they took something from her, you know. So she's gonna go back and confront them. But her and her cousins, they have this formula that they have where they can like take men off of this list, right? And so if you fall into this category, this formula, she doesn't have. She can like, does it make sense? She can like minus them off her list, you know. Like if she didn't have an orgasm, she can just take them off. They don't count in practice, you know. Or if they had a, you know, I don't know if I can say that. Can I say that?
Yeah, it's adult podcast.
Oh yeah. Okay. So if they had a penis, they come off. They off the list. You have to count them people. But she's actually going back and confront these people because she's rich and she's famous and she's an artist and she can do all these things. But she's had all these men. She has this cavalier attitude about men, and she doesn't know where she gets it from because her parents have been married her whole entire life. And so she watches a lot of Ayanna Fix My Life. So she swears she can like counsel herself. And so she's like get into the root of the problem. Like, why do I have attitude with my mother and my cousins and all these people? You know, the people around her, they've been married for, they have families and they have kids. She's the one that's just doing, you know, God knows what. And so it's just an adventure with her and her. So as she's going through, you know, her healing, so to say, she's touching the people around her because the people around her are starting their healing process. Maybe they had a bad relationship with one of their parents. Maybe they have a bad marriage. Maybe they have a bad relationship with their kids. Maybe they have a bad relationship. So they're like, she's fixing therapy in herself. And in the meantime, her friends are like catching on. So they have a picture. So that book is kind of almost like it's a romantic comedy, to say, if I was going to categorize. It's a romantic comedy because it's actually fun. But I had fun writing that book because the thing she's like, she's going to find these men. She has the money and the power to go find the people. So she's like pulling up on them at their jobs, like, you know, they're just ordinary people, and she's pulling up their jobs, telling them like they did this to her, and she wants her power back. And you know, she's not saying, I can't say what she said, but in the book she's telling them something different. So you know, she wants it back, and so it's funny.
Wow.
So do you when so you doing all these different genres of books, do you use your platform to address like social issues that's going on in the world, and if so, how?
Sometimes I do. Sometimes I do. Now, when I write in all these different genres, like I didn't know I was doing. Mind you, I was just writing. I never knew anything about a genre until I went to go publish the book. Right? I didn't know anything about a romance genre, urban fiction, mystery, sci-fi, none of that. All I knew was I wanted to write a book, and I was going to write a book, and that was it. So I learned about the different genres when I started publishing the books. So I didn't really know what that was. But sometimes I do. Some things I don't touch. I'll say this. I don't know if I can say it. Well, let me say this. Okay. So somebody wanted me to, in my children's book, wanted me to write about kids and their sexual orients. They wanted me to make one, and I was like, no, because I didn't feel like that was my place. You know, that's their parents' place, and I don't want to push that on, you know, to kids. So I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. But certain stuff I do touch on, like the book. What is it? The one was the vampire book, and that touches on a lot of racism. But not. It just shows it demonstrates the racism in the book. It's not one way or the other. Like it just shows you like this is what's happening in this time period. Sometimes I don't talk about the president, even though they've been on my mind for a long time. I don't talk about them. Sometimes I do. And then some of them go police brutality and violence, and you know it's mentioned in the book, but I don't never like make it like this is about this. It just touches on. To me, it's happening in the world, so you can't get around it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not like writing it to point it out to say that I'm one way or the other. It's just something that's happening in the world. It's just what the kids' books. I don't feel like is my job to touch on any of those subjects because that is for the parent. You know, somebody asked me about Pinky, and behind her she has a rainbow, right? Because what comes from rain is rainbow, so it has no political meaning or anything to it. I didn't take a stand or nothing. It's just I like the rainbow. The rainbow came from the rain, and so it's called Pinky's weather leg. So it's not saying that this is necessary for the community, you know. But if you want to read it, that's cool too. But I didn't. It's not, you know. It's one way or other. The rainbow staying there. So
right.
But that's though. It's like I don't want to. I don't want to make a book saying or a children's book. I just refuse to do it because I just want the children to read the book, and by me being a teacher, I don't know if I'm saying it right. I don't want to push anything on anybody. Like you know, I love everybody, but that's just not my place. Does that make sense? Like that's not my. I don't want to take on that responsibility.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't put it in my children's book.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, so I didn't in the kids' books, like there's nothing political, nothing. I don't know if political is the right word, but there's nothing controversial in the children's books. It's fun children's books. But in my adult books, you may get some of anything in there, but it's just stuff. You know, you gonna get what you get. You gonna get a bunch of everybody's loved over there. So.
Now, I'm telling you that you know I got some books that I written over here too. So let me ask you this: how, as far as the plot goes, how do you create the conflict and maintain the story's pace to keep it engaging?
That's a good question. Okay, for me, as I'm writing a book, I'm looking at it as, because I'm a big TV fan. I'm a big fan of TV. I'm looking at every chapter as an episode, right? So when you watch TV and you watching an episode of something exciting always happens in the episode to make you want to come back to read to see the next one, right? So as I'm writing the book, I'm making sure that something's happening in this chapter or it's gonna happen, that's either gonna solve what happened in the first chapter and make you want to read the next chapter. So there's always going to be something going on in that chapter. There's never any chapter fillers, like nothing. I don't know if you ever read a book and you read one chapter and that chapter is just so good, and then you get to the next chapter, you're like, oh, let's drag it on until you kind of skip a few pages.
Yeah.
So when I'm writing a book, I'm making sure that people aren't skipping pages, like, and I'm making kind of sure that I'm not making it. I'm staying true to the characters, no matter what I am. So when I'm writing these characters, I'm building a character, right? So if that character is doing that, then that character is doing it, and I'm not trying to hold them back from doing it. I don't know if that makes sense, but in my mind, it makes sense. I'm letting that character be as great as they can be. So if that character is, if I built them to be one way, then I stay true to it all the way to the end of the book. To me, it makes sense.
No, yeah, it makes sense. Can you share some insight into your writing process and any rituals or routines that you go through before you start to sit down and get to writing?
Okay, so I normally kind of calm myself, because when I start writing, I'm normally thinking about like what I'm gonna write, like which chapter I'm gonna write, what are they doing. But if something just gets to me and I gotta get it out, then I have my phone and I write in my phone because it's just so much easier for me. It's handheld, it's in my hand. I could grab it at any time. It's always on me. I go into Google Docs, and then I just start writing. And I have a thing where I have to be in a quiet space. Like it has to be quiet around me. Um, and it has to be, I like to write laying down. That's my thing. I write laying down or sitting down. I'm comfortable. After I've thought about it all day, I've drove home with it. I pondered over it in my mind all day. Now I'm ready to do it. I have a ritual where I write. I try to write 1,000 words every day, because um, even if those words, because writing is a bunch of rewriting, right? It's just writing, just writing and reading and writing and writing. Even if I don't use it, so I can get in the routine of writing, And so I'm trying to write, and um, that's what I do. And then I just start. I can't explain it. I just write. I have the urge to write, and I just go do it. Like, some days when I sit down, I'm like, oh, I don't feel like it, but I make myself do it because, to me, I don't really have a deadline. Remember, I self-publish, but I give myself deadlines. I give myself um, time to do stuff, because, like, the Lord bless you with this talent. You got to use it. Don't be lazy. You can't complain if you don't have #1 bestseller. You're not working hard enough. So I have times when I do certain stuff, but writing, I make sure that I write at least an hour a day for 1,000 words. Now, it may be I write 15 minutes on my lunch break, or I might write 15 minutes in the car, or I try to use the audio thing, but my mind doesn't work like that. I have to write it myself. I don't know if that's me. Some people can speak it to the recorder and to write it for them. I like to
Right.
write it myself. That gets me going. Does that make sense? That gets me going. It's like but I make sure that I write like today. I'm going to go home and I'm going to write. And normally I'm working on 2 books at the same time. So if I'm writing one book, I'm usually writing another one. Like I'm writing 2 books at one time. Does that make sense? I'm writing 2 books at one time. I'm working on this book and I'm working on that book.
Yeah.
2 stories at one time.
Yeah.
I'm juggling 2 thought processes at one time. And on top of that, I'm promoting these other books that I got. And I work all day long. I have a real job. And I have a husband to take care of. So I have a lot of things going on. But for me, the writing is a release. It's my brother got killed a few years ago, and I wrote a book called What is Death? And that for me was my grieving process, right? It's, I wrote a book for the kids because I saw my brother's grandson, and the look on his face, it was just like, it was inexplicable. It just broke me. And I was like, I have to put something for kids to understand. So this book I have called What is Death, it's just dealing with, like, what is death? Where do you go when you die? Like, what happens when you die? What's a funeral? What's a funeral parlor? What's a casket? All the things that kids might not know. We know a lot of us. I wasn't allowed to go to funerals when I was a kid. So maybe they don't know. And I read it to a group of kids, and it was very exciting for me. And they, you'd be surprised what kids know. So sometimes my books are therapy for me. So I use that one as a form of therapy because, it's a form of grieving. Like I just wrote about it, so, but I don't have a lot of rituals, but I do pick up a lot of things. Like I have to write every day. I make myself do it. It's not like this is not hard to do, but I make myself do it. Even if I'm just writing something, I'm writing because that's a joy. So
let me ask you this real quick. I got like I said, I wrote like 4 books. They're just in the, the I guess they're still in the writing phase. They're not the rough drafts. So, but do you have different writing styles that you apply to these books? Because I wrote all 4 of my books in different styles.
Okay, so I do now. Mind you, when I first started writing, remember I told you I didn't know anything about writing. I just wanted to write, and I was like, I'm going to write a book and this and that. So I didn't know that I had a writing style. Now I've picked up a couple writing styles. Now, I used to write in the third person, right? So I was always telling the story, like the character was telling the story, and he's always telling the story in a past tense. Does that make sense to you?
Yes,
like
to me.
That person is always somewhere in the book. She's telling the story. Whoever the main character is, I didn't know I was doing that though. Like it's just somebody pointed that out to me. Editor was like, this is what you write. This is your writing style. However, I've picked up a new style, and I use it sometimes. Like in my new book, I use it. Like I'm telling a story from maybe 3 or 4 different perspectives because one chapter, one person is talking, and the next chapter is that person is talking, the next chapter is she's talking, but they're all combined. Does that make sense?
Yes.
They're all telling this story, but they're telling it from different points of views, right? I used to just write, like, say I'm the main character, so I'm telling the whole story.
Right.
So I have a different kind of writing styles, but I never write. And I don't know why I don't do this, and I don't know if it's just my preference or not. In none of my books will you ever hear one of the characters say, I like talk in present time. It's always something that I don't know if I'm saying this right or not, but it's always something they're going through. They're not, it's like they're telling you the story, right?
Right.
And that's just how I do it. And I didn't know I had that because I didn't know anything about writing books. I just knew I wanted to be an author. I didn't like research styles or anything. I just started writing.
Right.
To me, it was just like a gift that I had, something that I can do. Like if you was a rapper, you just I just thought rappers automatically write their raps. I didn't know that somebody else could write it for you and that you could rap it. To me, that's like cheating, right? Is that not cheating? That's cheating. Like, you know, it's almost like you got a ghostwriter. Like, no, I just, so since I'm a writer, it's just like, I write, this is what I do. And I'm learning a lot of stuff. You know, I'm learning a lot of business stuff that I never knew. Like, I never knew a lot of stuff like this. It's like a business. Like, this is not only did you write this book, this is like it's a real business. Girl, this is your business. This is what you do. Like, I sold 200 or 300 books to a company one year, and it was just blew my mind. It was like, I wrote a book called Corona and the Glitter, right? And so the school district bought it for all the kids, and then this library bought it. But I never thought about it like that, because to me it was just fun. It was something I'd done. It was just something that I always wanted to do. So it wasn't a business until I had to start selling these books and keeping these records and writing, you know, that I sold this and keeping all these invoices, and it drives me crazy. But this is a real business, and so from looking at it like that, it's like, oh my God, I gotta write this down. I gotta remember this. I gotta do this. But just writing a book for me is just fun. It's just like, and I want everybody to enjoy the story, and that's the joy for me. The business part is just like a headache. It's like, oh my God, I gotta write down, you know, especially when I'm ordering like I told you I made an umbrella. And then after I made an umbrella, it's like, that's a real business. So I'm ordering from these people way over in China, like people I never even met, you know. And so I'm talking to them on the phone, and they asking me all this stuff. And I'm like, maybe you should have thought about that before you started this. But I just working, you know, God is good. So he was like, you know, I just learned. But being a businesswoman is not something that I thought was going to become when I became a writer. Does that make sense? I just wanted to be a writer and write a #1 bestseller and have be on New York Times and all that good stuff. I didn't think about, like, you got to sell this book, girl. You know, you got to meet these people. You got to tell these people what your book is about. You got to learn how to write the book in the store. You got to deal with Barnes and Noble. You got to. All I wanted to do was write a book and be like, okay, here, I'm done. And it didn't happen like that, but I'm still here. So, but I'm learning every day. I'm learning new stuff every day.
That's a good way to understand that you're learning every day, right? Because you know, once you establish that it is a business, and once you establish that, you know, the fact that you're not just doing something for yourself, you're doing something for everybody else that's out there to a certain extent, right? You're writing books for the kids, and they're getting something out of it. You're telling a story about different situations in life, and they're getting something out of it. You're telling a story about whether or not, you know, how funerals work and everything, and they're learning something from it. So you're it is a business, but it's also a responsibility.
And I never, like, I'm never in a million years. I sold a bunch of the funeral books to funeral homes, but never in a million years that I think I would be going to talk to these funeral home owners about selling them a product. Like, I don't have anything for the funeral home, but I'm like, no, you do got something for the funeral home. You got a book for the funeral home, and I never thought about it like that. So, the writing the books have opened so many doors and opportunities that I never would have thought when it existed. Like I told you, I have the umbrella and the doll, and I wish I had the doll. Which I'll show it to you. I know they got one somewhere in this house. Those are just things that came from the book. Does that make sense? Like, I'm sitting here on your podcast talking to you because I wrote these books.
Right.
You know, so when I was writing the books, I just wanted to write books. I wanted people to love them. My goal is to write a #1 bestseller. That is my goal. Like, I want to be on New York Times best list, you know. But these books have opened up a door. Like, have taken me places that I would never even think about. So,
Right.
Tell me a little bit about you that you're writing these books and you're having a, great rapport with the kids, the family and friends that, read your books. But what is something that they don't know about you? What is something unique about you that's outside of the books and everything else that they know you for, but just something else that may not be well known about
um, everybody knows me. Um, well, I don't know. Well, I wrote this on the back of my book. I don't really like to share this because for me, it's just me. It's mine. It's my experience. I died um, when I was 27. It's fact. You can Google. I mean, you can go to Long Beach Memorial Hospital. I had a thyroid storm. I had a thyroid problem. I went to a thyroid storm. I went cold blue, died, went away from here. I was gone. When I say I was dead, I mean I was dead. I was gone. So I had an out of body experience, and I don't think people know that about me. And I am. Um, when I went away from here, I was gone. I went to this. It's like a garden type place. You know, um, I didn't see any angels, stuff like that. I just was away from here. I was dead. And I just heard a voice saying, like, you can't stay here and see any people. I didn't see anything, but I just heard a voice saying, you can't stay here. And I woke up, like I came back. Um, but I was gone. And I don't tell a lot of people that. And I don't get really into the story because that's my story. That's mine. Like I don't want to put that in my books. I don't want to. Um, they might not know that about me, but that happened. It's not a lot of people don't really know about me. I mean, I'm on Facebook. I'm telling all kinds of stuff, but
you?
I'm really sensitive. I'm very sensitive, but I think everybody knows that. Um, let's see. I don't know. I'm really like I'm not an open book, but I don't have any. I think if you follow me on social media or you follow me somewhere, if you knew me growing up, I mean I grew up in a little small city, Long Beach. I'm just a regular person. I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. I grew up there until I was like 10 or 12. I came here. I go back. I consider that home. I go home all the time. I go back to Louisville.
Mm.
I don't have like nothing. I'm a big country music fan, so I like country music.
Oh, goodness.
Before being a Baker album, I
Oh,
was liking country
goodness.
music before then. I'm a big Dolly Parton fan. I want to go to Dolly World.
Oh,
Um,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't have. I'm pretty much an open book kind of person. Like if you know me, you just know me.
let me ask you then, in
Okay.
that case where, it's hard sometimes to, critique yourself in a way to find out, you know, some of the things that maybe people don't know about you. And that story that you mentioned is one of those things that, it's hard to talk about when you're going through an illness and you mentioned about your brother passing and whatnot. I like to ask you a little bit about mental health, right? Because mental health plays a big part in not only the stories that you tell. Mentally, you have to be in a place to write. Mentally, you have to be in a place to accept the story in a way where you can put it down on paper.
Right.
So with all of the other things that you've been through with your, family situation and your own, how do you deal with mental health and how do you talk about that not only with your family and friends, but also processing it with the kids that you teach?
Well, I am a big. I always tell people mental health is real, right? All these people say that they're suffering from depression, anxiety, whatever they say, it's real. Believe them when they say that. Um, Mental illness. I don't want to say it runs in my family, but we do have some mental illness in our family. Paranoid schizophrenia, depression. Um, but I've come from a place, a home where everything was discussed. I had one of those mothers that just was she just equipped us for life. Does that make sense? Like she nothing was closed in, nothing was hidden. We don't hide things. You know, a lot of people don't talk about mental illness in their families. It's like, oh, they just stick right now. I have a lot of books about for kids for mental health, but I just deal with it head on. You know, I've always been a big listener. Like people and the people, anybody who knows me, they'll tell people just tell me stuff. I don't know why, they just do, and I'm a big listener. And I'm listening not so I can answer back. I'm listening so I can hear what they not saying. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I'm listening to them because a lot of people don't know this, but if you know me, you'll know. And it can sound crazy if you want to. You could call it whatever you want to call it. I don't know what it is. I just feel stuff. Does that make sense? When I meet people, I feel stuff. So I don't have to.
You're a mother, right? You're a
Huh?
mother. You feel stuff. Mothers know.
Yeah. It's more than just being a mother, though. I just, I'm in tune with people. You know, I can feel like if you in pain, maybe I can feel that, or if something's bothering you, maybe I can feel that. I can feel the energy from that person. Does that make sense? Like I can feel like I just need to be with you for a few minutes, and I got it. I got it. Like whether you give me the negative energy, the positive energy, whatever, even if I'm trying to hide it, I still got it. I can still feel it. So. But I deal with mental illness, and I always tell people, just say it. Just don't. If something's bothering you, let it out. You know, go find somebody that you can talk to. Go find somebody that you can listen to. You know, but mental illness is real. And if you feel menopause on top of mental illness, then you just got a whole mess. But I'm into like vitamins and herbs and stuff like that. So I'm always listening to see like, is that just anxiety? That's because some people have anxiety and some people are menopausal. Some are menopausal. Some people suffer from depression. So I'm always listening, but you know, I'm not an expert on mental health and no means, but I deal with kids and I work with a lot of social workers and I work with a lot of people who are experts in mental health. And so I'm always listening. And since I work for a school district, we're always having trainings on mental health, right? And so I think it's always been an issue, but now it's just in the forefront, right? Does that make sense? Like we've always been trained to deal with stuff, but I just handle it, I guess, one case at a time. I don't have like, I don't know, like sometimes we have like at school. If I was at school, we have a whole curriculum on mental health. So I know how to deal with children. We are giving them words to express themselves to say, like, this is how I feel. So they can deal with that emotion. Sometimes when I was little, sometimes kids don't have a voice and they just to be seen and not heard. And I don't think that's fair to the children because we don't want to put all that burden stuff on children. We want them to express themselves, right? And I think we get a lot of adults who have a lot of problems because as kids, they weren't allowed to express themselves. Like, when I know, it's just certain stuff you couldn't say to your parents when you was little. I don't know about y'all, but sometimes you couldn't say that to your mother. You didn't have the language or the words or the vocabulary to express to your mother like you hurt my feelings. Like when you said so and so, that hurt my feelings. Because you tell your mama that when you was little.
Hurt my feelings. Get your feelings hurt for real.
Yeah. Get your
feelings hurt for real.
That hurt. Yeah, I couldn't like that hurt me when you said so and so, or when you said this. I felt. When who cares how you felt? You 6 years old, like we don't care.
You better get out of here, boy.
Before I give you something to cry about.
Right.
But I think as adults, that comes that comes out because when we were little, some people were little, they didn't. My mother, like, if you could explain your case, maybe you could say it, but you had to say it in a certain way, like this, if you could like verbalize, you just walking on those eggshells, so be careful what you say. But a lot of people didn't get that chance to say, like, when we was at the grocery store and I asked for the cereal, you said I couldn't have it. That hurt my feelings. That made me feel bad inside. I felt like, you couldn't say that to your mother when you was little. I mean, you couldn't say like, when I was over here and Granny came and you told Granny my business, or you told Granny I peed in the bed, or you told Granny that you had to whoop me last night, I was embarrassed.
Right.
You couldn't say that to your parent.
No way,
you
no
get another
way.
one.
No way, no way. Let me ask you, in all of the things you've been doing in our discussion so far, can you talk a little bit about a defining moment, something that you've been through that was kind of a defining moment in your process of either whether you were writing or just general in life or school that just made you took you back a little bit?
I think when I went cold blue, that took me back a little bit. But I think when I had my kids, that might have been a defining moment for me. Like, you got to do better. You're responsible for these lives. Like, you they mama now. I think my most defining moment in my life is that just put everything in perspective. Is I had two brothers who passed away, and within the 2 years time frame, one got killed, one died of a heart attack. So I think those are defining moments of my life that says life is short. So whatever it is you want to do, you better do it, because you can be here tomorrow. Here today ain't gonna tomorrow. So I think those are defining moments in my life where it says, don't waste time. Don't waste time arguing with people. Don't waste time being mad. Don't waste time procrastinating. Time is something that you cannot get back. Time is something that it'll slip past you. And while you debating on whether you was gonna do it or not, them people already did it, and you wasted a whole bunch of time doubting yourself, or you wasted a whole bunch of time, going over it in your minds. Just do it. It's better to do it and either fail, because failure is a part of life, right? You do something, it didn't work out, you don't do it again. But I think those two deaths in my life, I think those kind of set the stage for. I don't think I've ever been scared to do something. I'm a procrastinator, so I might do it slow. But I think that picked up the pace for me. Does that make sense? It's like I don't have a lot of time. It's like, do it now. Let's go. Don't be scared. I think in life I've been taught that I can pretty much do anything. I used to be the baby of the family, but I have a little brother and a little sister. But in my mother's house, I was the youngest, the baby. And so I was the one who kind of got away with, like, oh, let her do that, let her do this. I never got in trouble, like, let her do this. You get away with a lot when you're the baby and you're the only girl, right? And so I had two older brothers there to protect me, to look out for me. So I was never scared to like do nothing. Does that make sense? Like, just do it. Just do it. Like, go on and do it. But I think those are defining moments of my life, because you realize, like, you might die tomorrow. And like you said, you got those books you want to publish. You ain't publish them. You die tomorrow. Nobody ever gonna read those books. And so stuff that I wouldn't normally do, or I would like, how you ponder on stuff, like, I'm gonna do that. I want to go do this. I want to go do. I think I just go for it. Just do it. Just, if it don't work, it don't work. Try again. So I don't put any limits on what I can do.
I think that's awesome. I think that's an awesome saying, because we all procrastinate on things that we know we have the talent for, or we're capable of doing, but we just don't. I'm gonna ask you one more question, and I'm gonna pass it back over to Razak. But My question is,
I'm listening. I'm just.
yeah. My question is based on role models. I'd like to know, who are some of your role models? Who do you see as role models in not only your life but in your career as well?
Oh, that's a good question. Let's see. Well, first, my mother has always been my role model. Um, I've always wanted to. You know what? Let me think about it. Well, my mother has always been a role model to me. I think the women in my family in general are role models. A teacher. I had a teacher. I told you my teacher was in fourth grade. She let me write a play. Um, I mean, I have a bunch of people. Depends on in this writing career that I'm having or that I have, whatever. I am. I always wanted to go on Oprah's. You see her the list of books she makes? You ever see that? I've always wanted to be on there. I guess
Who are
my
you
mother
talking
would be
about
a
again?
role.
Say that again. Who was the name you were talking about?
Oprah. She's not my. I
Oh,
always wanted to be on her. She does a list of books. You ever
hmm
see her do that list of
yes.
books?
Yeah.
I've always wanted to be on a list of her books. But a role model, I think, just people in my community, people that I grew up with, people, you know, I go by people that I see doing stuff. Does that make sense? Like, it could be a teacher, one of my teachers, like she did that, I could do that. You know what I'm saying? She did it. If she did it, I could do it. And then I think my mother is my role model. I would say that. I don't think I don't think I have a celebrity role model. Does that make sense? I've never looked. To me, they're celebrities and they entertain me, but I don't think I have a role model, somebody that I would want to. I have people that I would want to be like. Shonda
Okay.
Rhimes, I love her. But
Mhm.
I want to be her. But in life, just in general, I think my aunties, my grandmother, all those women that came before me that taught me different things. I have a love and respect for them, and I think that's where I get my moral compass from, and that's who makes me who I am, and those are the people that I aspire to be like, or I want to stay true to myself and be just me. You know what I'm saying? So if I had to like pick role model, somebody that I want to mimic after or be like, it would be like one of them. Does that make
Mm.
sense?
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's
Makes
how
sense?
it should be. It should be definitely not no supermodel or no person that's out there being a superstar. You know.
Yeah, so and I have a lot of love for celebrities that I just love. Like I love them. Like I love the way she did that. But that's the celebrity personality you see. You ever see celebrities that you love them and you love their music and but then you get to see them on TV. You're like, oh, I don't like that. Like,
Yeah.
why they let her do like? I didn't like when she done that. You know,
Mm.
Thank you so much for
Yeah.
that. I appreciate that. You reside back on you.
huh?
Uh, no, he was just passing it over to me. I was going to ask you, do you view writing as you said it was therapeutic and it's kind of like a spiritual process for you, right?
Right. It's
Okay.
like it's like it's like if you play basketball, or if you play the piano, or my phone is charging up on this thing, or if it's like my release. It's like I have all this stuff inside of me that I want to write and I want to put in this book. So once I get it out, it's like, okay, I
Mhm.
got that out. Now I can move on and let's put some more in there. Does that make
Well,
sense?
well, yeah. Have you now? Okay. Given that, have you written something that was as you was writing it, it like overcame you with emotion, like it's a emotional scene for you that you was writing out?
No, no.
No, like
I
so. When you,
okay. So let's say this. I was. I'm trying to let my phone get some juice. Okay. So I was on a plane one time, right? And I was back home, and I'm scared to fly. Right. So I was coming home, and I had one of my books, and like I told you, I don't read my books once they're published. Like once they go into print, that's it. I'm not gonna read it no more. So I was reading my book, right? And so as I got into the book, I actually forgot that like I wrote that. Does that make sense? Like I'm reading the book and I'm enjoying it so much, but I forgot that I wrote this book. Like I wrote this book. And so right there and there, I was like overcome with emotion on the plane. I almost started crying. No lie, I almost started crying because I was like, that is really good. Like that book, and I hadn't read the book in a while because it was just in my bag and I was reading it, trying to take my mind off of the fact that I was on this plane, right? But I think that's when I had a moment like, this girl can really write. Like I'm like, you wrote that, girl. And that was one of them aha moments. Like, yeah, you did that. But I got so involved in the book that I promise. I almost forgot, like, you wrote all of that. Like, that's your book. And so that was one of them moments that was like, yeah, girl, you got a gift.
Right on.
But I kill people in my book, like the characters, like they die. But I don't cry when they die because I know I'm gonna kill them. So I know I'm gonna kill them. Now the people who read the books, they cry when they die, or they might cry at a funeral. They might cry, but I've never wrote anything because it came out of my mind. So it's like it didn't make me like. Now I'll take that back. When I wrote the book, what is death? That it was kind of hard for me to do that because my brother had died, and so when I wrote that book, that was kind of like it was a little heavy. It got a little heavy because I'm writing all these things, and the kids in the books, are crying, and they're like accepting that this person that they love is dead, and I've read that book once or twice to a class, but I don't read it, right? I don't. I've seen classes read it, but I kind of step out when they read it, or because that does kind of get to me because I know that I wrote that book for my brother. It's before my other brother died, and so that kind of takes me back, and it's like, ugh, But other than that, the rest of the books, because I wrote them, so like I know what's gonna happen in them.
Okay, well, this is kind of a two-part kind of question. Like, so if you were to imagine your book as being in another form, such as or somebody buying into your book, because that's another thing I wanted to ask you about too. Let me just go straight to that one. Putting your book into a film or TV format. Do you ever write it with the purpose of thinking that this might turn into a
That's how I write
movie?
them. I'm glad you asked me that because this is how I write books. Remember you asked me about the chapters? That's how I write the chapter. That's how I see the book. Every chapter is an episode of a Netflix special to me. That's why something is happening in every chapter. It's like a build-up. It's a build-up and a climax in every chapter because to me, every chapter is a Netflix or HBO or whatever you want to put it on. It's an episode. So that is one of my dreams.
Which one of your books do you think, or would you want to come into a movie or a film project, and who would you say the characters would be, or who would play these characters?
Okay, so I always wanted My House of Foray to come into an episode series, and I even picked out the Hattie Mae is one of the characters in the book. And if you ever look at the book cover, you'll see. You ever watched? Her name is Ryan Destiny. I think that's her name. She played on. A little dark girl played on the hip hop show. I can't remember the name of that show, but she played because I believe in manifesting stuff. Does that make sense? So I made a little made a little thing with the people who I wanted to play certain characters in this book. And so I had built like a little board, like she's gonna be Hattie Mae, and she's gonna be Mistress Maddie, and she's gonna be the vampire DeMar. He's gonna be DeMarco. So I always envisioned him as books. I mean, as that book as a series. Now, the book I Love Them All, I see that as a movie. Does that make sense? I see that as a movie,
Yes.
and I see the House of Foray as a series. House of Foray is a series. Like that could go on forever. The I Love Them All could be a movie, like a one-shot movie. Like what's that movie with Queen Latifah and Jada Pinkett, and is it Girls Trip?
Set It Off.
No, not I love Set It Off, but that's I see Four Bad Bitches. I have a book called Four Bad Bitches. I see that as Set It Off movie, another Set It Off movie. But I see.
Well, you say that again. Let me hear that name of that movie again. You said it was some attitude.
Four Bad Bitches.
Woo! Coming out near you.
I see that as a movie. Now I see I Love Them All as a movie, but like a romantic comedy. Like it's funny. Four Bad Bitches is like a Set It Off type of movie. You know, I have to categorize them like Suspect Behavior is a movie. You know, but the House of Foray for me, that is a series of books. That is made for television because, you know, that's a binge watch. You know, I'm a big Game of Thrones fan. You guys watch Game of Thrones? I'm a big Game of Thrones fan.
Yes, I watched the whole series. Yes.
So I watch it over and over and over and over again, and they tell me I can't watch it no more. I watch it over and over. But that's how I see. That's how I see my House of Foray. I see it as a series. You know, I looked into making Pinky my children's books. I've always looked into making that into like a cartoon series.
Okay.
It's very complicated, very difficult, it's very expensive. It's that animation, you know, there's different levels of animation. I didn't even notice different levels of animation. You know, how many minutes do you want? How many seconds? Like, it's very complicated. But I've always seen Pinky as a household name, as almost like Mickey Mouse. Like everybody knows who Mickey Mouse is. So I've always seen Pinky as that household name. Like Pinky is just a character. I made her for little black girls in general. Like she's for everybody, but I wanted them to have something that when they saw her off the bat, they knew that she was for them. She is a little black girl for them, and you know she had this superpower. She knew the weather was going to change. That was her superpower. You know, Turquoise the Terrible is one of my characters. He has ADHD. But yeah, he can't sit still, but he's just living.
Character.
Yeah, he's a character. He's in his own world, but you know, the superpower is, you know, he's aware of everything, you know, around him. He's living in his world. He has all these great qualities. Pinky's family is very diverse. Her father is a pilot. You know, he owns an airplane. You know, her mother is a doctor who suffers from depression. Her grandma, she has a book called Pinky Tours New Orleans with Ruby. Her grandmother is Haitian, and they live in New Orleans, and they own like a tour guide company. You know, there's just black excellence all in her family. So I just see her as like in a cartoon of her, and I'm doing this when I'm writing this book. I'm doing it purposely because I want you to see all this black excellence in her. Right? I want you to know that her grandmother and her grandfather are Haitian, and they speak French, and they live in New Orleans, and they have this business. You know, they're business owners. You know, they don't work for people, they work for themselves. Her father is a pilot. You know, she has a sister named Lavender. You know, she has a brother. You know, it just goes on, and all my characters are colored. I don't know if you put that together or not, but all of her friends, their names are names of like colors. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we should try to skim through one of your books or so. But I know you got a couple of them. Was no telling which one we was going to hit on today. Is it And now I'm glad you brought that up because I was thinking, okay, as a Black author, you know, how do you? I mean, I know you say you do like urban novels and stuff like that, but how do you incorporate the a serious tone of narration for your characters to the comedy stuff like that, and then try to make it culturally based, like, you know what I mean, like, okay, it's for Black kids, Black men, Black women, you know, is it that type of format that you're writing all these books in?
No, so there is for everybody. The books,
Mm-hmm.
my children's books, they're everybody. They're just showcasing Black talent. Does that make sense? Anybody can read the book. The books are for everybody. And in Pinky's books, her friends and everybody around her are very diverse, right? She's just a star. Because for the children's books, I don't know if you noticed or not, but there are not a lot of books where the main character is a Black person, kid. Does that make sense? So she is the main character. So when the little Black girls just see her at school, they kind of light up like, oh, she look like me. Oh, she got ribbons like me. Oh, her skin color is the same color as mine. Oh, she's this, she's that. And then the people around her. Now, in the class, you know, even her teacher is Black. Like Miss Sugar is Black. That's her teacher's name is Miss Sugar. She's Black. But the books are diverse and they're for everybody because, you know, we don't live in a world where there is no diversity. Everybody is everywhere. But she is just the main character in the book. It showcases her.
But a lot of the things that they're going through life, is it a reflection of the culture, the black experience, or
pretty much
how?
Pretty
Okay.
well, I think everybody is. You know what? I've never thought about that, but let me think about it.
So like, you know what I mean, like we're reading it, and like, even for the kids, you know, little black girls, little Black boys, the community that they're in are significantly different than, you know, white, Hispanic, Asian. All those are different things. Now they may be
I
in the
think
same
that
area,
a lot of our
they could be in the
culture,
same hood, same all that type of stuff, but the way they go through life is still a bit of difference there.
I think in the children's books, a lot of the culture is represented in the back, like in the background somewhere. You might see the African flag, or you might see a picture of Dr. Martin Luther King, like, or you might see, you know, on the table they may be eating soul food or something like that. So I'm trying to be trying to get without like pointing it out, like it's just natural. I don't know if I'm saying that right or not. I'm not. It's not pointed out. Like it's not just, oh, they eating I don't know, they eating soul food. It's not. It's just on the table where you can see it. Right. I didn't
Yeah.
say what they was eating. You know, collard green fried chicken, but you can see it behind them at the repast. You can see what they eating. But
Right.
I think I made sure that like my culture or whatever I believe was behind me. I don't know if that makes sense. You ever read, like, say if you was reading a Spanish book or a Mexican book, you would see something that represent their culture in the background or something like that. So I
Right.
make sure that when I write kids books for Pinky, that you can see her culture, but like when she's in New Orleans, you can see the Mardi Gras and everything behind her because that's her culture. That's what she, you know, her family she grew up in New Orleans, so you can see that. But I didn't purposely point it out. If that's what you're saying, I didn't like purposely say, you know, this is like people do this. No, but
Okay.
when you read it, you know, if you will get it. Like on my book, Four Bad Bitches, the girl has. I'm from Long Beach, and I always got to represent Long Beach. So the girl has a Raiders backpack on. Now, if you was from Long Beach and you saw the Raiders backpack, then you would know, like, oh, you know, she's from Long Beach. So it's like subliminal. Does that make sense? It's like I didn't say it, but if you seen it, you would know.
You wouldn't
So
know.
you would know. It's, I don't know. It's
Message
like
is more
being from New
universal.
Orleans and you saw the Fleur de Lis. You would know that that's the New Orleans symbol.
Right.
Right. But I didn't in the books, in my adult books, I think a lot of stuff that they're doing in the books
mhm.
are just normal stuff that we will be doing. So I didn't have to point it out to you that, you know, this is why we doing this.
Yeah, that's because it's a the kids book. That's a more of a picture book. You got images in
Yeah,
there,
I have images. And so you
but
can see.
in the writing of your books that are adult books, only by the cover do we know that it's a black female that you're
Right.
talking about. Otherwise, there's no depiction or reflection of it being culturally, black
No.
heritage, minority
No.
in the writing.
Right. No. And if well, in the book, I kind of in some of the books, their culture does come up. Like it's a big hair issue. It's I never thought about. It's a good question. I don't think I've ever thought about that. Like I want to showcase this. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
Now that you said that, I got to go back and think about that. Like, did I do that? Like, I never. I'm pretty sure it is, but I never thought about it like that. Because me being a black woman, whatever's in my mind, I put it to paper.
But it's coming from a black female's perspective that you're writing.
Yeah, so it's like you're reading it. Okay. So here's the thing. I think if I read that book and I wasn't a black woman, I think that I would understand that a black woman wrote it.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that I would understand that a black woman wrote the book. Because I am reading right now. I'm reading a book by a Caucasian lady author, and I don't know how to explain it, but I know that a white lady wrote this book. Like some of the verbiage that she uses, like, does that make sense? Like,
yes.
So I can tell, like, okay. So in my books, I think the blackness in me just comes out in the books. Like, if you read that book, you would know that a black lady wrote that book. But I don't think I showcase. Now that you said that, I'm probably gonna go back and look and be like, "Did you do that?" But
I asked that because in the books that I was writing, for certain characters, I specifically point out that this is a Hispanic dude. This is a white girl. This is
now in the book I do that. I do tell you what they are, what they mix with, what they look like.
Okay.
I do, because sometimes it's very important for you to understand that what that person is like. So
the type of character that you're introducing.
Yeah, I kind of give this is what I do. If it's a main character or a character that you're gonna spend a lot of time with, then I'm gonna describe them and tell them about you. But if it's not a person that you're gonna spend on, then you can use your imagination. You can make them whatever color you want to make them.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, because
if that character is gonna go on and be in his book, and you're gonna be involved with that person, then I may say, he was short, dark, round, whatever. But if not, I may just let you use your own imagination to decide, what they look like, what color they are, what are they, because I don't know why I do this, but sometimes if you watch a movie and you've read a book and you watch the movie, and then you will say, "Oh, I thought he was so and so," but then they cast him to be something else. You're like, "Oh, I thought he was." But so that's
the book's description of the guy and the movie is two different
it doesn't
things.
match. So you like, I thought he was, but sometimes I do that. So if
it's so universal.
So if it's a person that you're gonna be with, and they're gonna just keep on coming back, then I may. But if they just in there for the moment, I may just let you use your imagination. And now some readers are like that. Some readers don't want to know what the
mystery.
I'm a descriptive writer though, so I need to know, what color her dress was, why they in this work room look like. That's just who I am. Some people don't want to know all of that.
Yeah, yeah, because I was gonna say I write like that, but then I don't write like that. I got each one of my books are different, are in
In
a
a different
different style.
style. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, like some
yeah,
people aren't interested in like what her glasses look like. I don't care, but I
yeah,
am. I want to know because I'm a visual person, so I
mhm.
visualize everything. So I want to know, like, you know. And sometimes I get upset if I'm reading books if they didn't describe or tell me, like, because then I got to guess.
Yeah. Well, you generalize it.
Yeah.
Generalize what the description is. Let's get into this question right here. With all that we was just saying, and through your history of from the beginning of when you was uh, when you was a young girl and you started getting into writing, and you took you through life and the things, experiences that you have. What would you say would be a life lesson that you learned so far that you would resonate with our viewers, subscribers?
Let me see. I've learned so many life lessons. Some of them I don't want to learn over. And I always tell God, don't give me no more trials. I'm ready for my blessings now. You know what I'm saying? I've had enough lessons. Um, I would say think, think first, think it out. Um, I'm very impulsive. I've always been like that. Um, I would just say think whatever you're gonna do, think it out. Um, make sure it's what you want to do, but don't overthink it. You think it out. Don't be so impulsive. Don't be so quick to judge. Don't be scared to fail. I'm trying to, and yeah, that was, if I could tell anybody something, I would say just be true to you. Do what's good for you. Don't be a people pleaser. Always stay true to yourself. Always, and it may sound selfish, but it's not. Always put you first because if you're not okay, and if you're not all together, then you can't help anybody else. Does that make sense? If
Yes.
if if your mental health is together, if your needs haven't been met, if you can't get yourself together, then you are no good for anybody else. And so always be true to you, and always go with your gut instinct.
Right.
Your first mind is always normally the right thing to do. Whatever your first mind told you to do that. Don't second guess that. Whatever your gut has said, that's normally the right thing to do.
I hear that. I hear that.
Well, that's
And
true.
yeah. And okay, so let me ask you one more question. And okay, so with your um I guess the passing of your siblings, the raising of the children, and that, and you said you had a husband and all that type of stuff. Plus, what your business is, and you're writing these books, and you're working. Uh, what would you say that how you are building towards a legacy, and what does that mean to you?
But my legacy means everything to me because I'm leaving a legacy of these books, a legacy of being a hard worker. Hopefully, these books take me somewhere. They not, they don't. It's something I wanted to do, but I feel like it is important for me to live at this point because I feel like I've raised my children. You know, I've sent my kids off to college. My daughter's working on her doctorate degree, and they're good. I feel like it is what I am doing is important to me, and I'm teaching my kids how to do it. Like they don't have any interest in writing books, but one day I may not be here, and they're going to be responsible for any book or anything that has me attached to it. So I'm showing my daughter how to publish, how to make contacts, how to get her business blogs together, and things like that. So I'm showing her how to run my business if one day I wasn't here. So I feel like I'm passing down that to her. Um, I'm giving her this knowledge, like I'm showing her how to do this. This is a skill that you wouldn't have if your mother didn't have it. So I just want to have a legacy as a great writer. Like, she wrote books that make people feel good, or she wrote books that people loved, or she wrote this book. You never know what's going to happen with a book. It could be 20 years from now. I could be dead and gone. 50 years from now, I'm not here. My book will still be here. My books will still be here somewhere.
Right. That would qualify as a legacy that you're leaving.
That would qualify as a legacy, right? You ever hear, like, when I was little, well, not even when I was little, like now, let's say when your grandparents die, or somebody dies, or somebody passes on something to you, like passes their house on to you, or passes their property, or they left this for you. Like, I want that to be like, for my family, like, I'm leaving this for you. Like, I'm leaving for you to pick it up. Not necessarily that I want you to be a writer, I want you to do this, but I want you to know that, even when I'm not going away from here, I'm in my other life, or wherever I'm at, I'm still here with you. I left this legacy for you. I left this for you. But I always see people, they grandparents die and they sell their house, and I'll be like, why you sell that house? Like, why do you do that? Why you ain't keep it and pass that house on from generation to generation, or pass that land over, or build onto that and pass that on? But a whole nother story. So